What's up, traders? Just the one trade today. Gonna jump right into it. SBLK. I was actually pretty upset about it, just because of how I played it. But as you can see, previous resistance from Friday's high, $30. We get a nice pop through there, and right up to a $0.50. And I really, it was at 30.20, I think, when I pulled it up, and then it made a nice spike right up to that 30.50. You can watch it live over on Twitch. Obviously, it'll be down in the pinned comment. But I just started it. It didn't really matter in the end, but I could have had a better first entry here. It could have been through the $0.50 had I just waited a little bit, because it did end up going right through. Got a little impatient thinking, just assuming it was going to stop right there at the $0.50, which it didn't. So my own fault there. And we ended up having to kind of fight this one a little bit. So goes up a little bit more. We add 100 shares, and then it got to 31, and I was ready to do a 112 here. So it was 100, 100, and then I ended up only doing 100 because it kept denying 31 here, but I didn't want to miss an ad. Wanted to try to get my average up as much as I can because it started to kind of feel slow already, and I didn't like it. And so I wanted to not miss the ad. If it went through, I would have added the other 100 to make it a 112. Just would have been a little bit of a worse fill, but it didn't. Came down. We ended up taking 100 of the 300 off, and this is where I made the mistake. Where I drew this line was that previous resistance that resistance that it formed, and when it broke that, I should have cut it. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's the strategy. I should have cut it, and it would have been for a small loss. It wouldn't have been anything crazy. I think it would have been like $40, something like that. But instead, I let it go against me. And I think we ended up down somewhere around like 120, $130 or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But we end up adding up here. We do 200 shares. So we had 200 left. We added 200. Brings our average up to, I think, 3101 actually. And so I realized that if it comes back down, it's probably going to try to bounce off that area. So when I realized that it was probably the top, I went ahead and added 200 more. Got our average, I think, to 3108. I believe. And so when it came down, put a bunch of orders out, and we took, I think it was, so we had 600. I think we took 500 off, 400 maybe. I think it was 400, 300, and then 100 before the break there, which it never actually broke, I don't think. It did temporarily, got to 97. But then it popped back up. And I told myself at high of day I was going to cut it, but we only had 100 shares at this point. If it went high of day and we cut it, it would have ended up being a small red trade, even though we had realized, I think it was over $20 at this point, and we were obviously looking for the bigger drop to get more out of it. So when it came up here and it failed to go high of day, I was like, you know what? Let's just throw another 100 shares on there. If it does fail, we'll get a nice little green trade out of it, add some shares, and if it ends up going high of day, we're pretty close. It won't add that much to the red trade. So took a little bit more risk, and it ended up working out, and we ended up walking with a decent trade. But I was kind of mad at myself because it should have been a cut here, and then we could have reevaluated if we wanted to get back in, which it didn't really extend. Probably would have wanted up through 3150 to get back in. So yeah, it was a green trade, but it was a bad trade. So yeah, I'm trying to make sure I learn from that, because again, and everyone's saying, well, you're green, who cares? Well, what if this thing just started to run? The halt price, I think, was somewhere in like 33, I want to say. Like, what if this actually got some volume and started to run? That would have sucked, right? Because then now we're starting to get a little heavy on share size. We're already down, I think, like 130 here at the top. So if that actually makes a run up through 32, now we're down, $400 or $500 when we could have cut it here for a $40 loss. And, it is what it is. That's a big swing. So instead of like an $80 swing, now you're talking, $400 swing. That's the strategy, is to not let that happen. And I gave it a chance to let that happen. So that was kind of bad on my part. But anyways, that's all I got. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Always appreciate the support. If you do have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those down below. And you can always find me in Discord, find me over on Twitter. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.